I've always hated these things. They aren't exactly human. They are hardly even creatures of the earth. They cannot feel. They cannot see. They cannot hear. They do not breathe the same air as you and me. Uncaring, wrinkled, paste-white bodies wander these halls, consuming this food as they crackle like the witches I heard about in stories when I was a child. Their gravel teeth gnaw away at the flesh, shoved into their mouths by elongated claws for hands, grinding organs into a putrid mass unrecognizable by my eyes. Insidious voices reverberate off the walls to the empty rafters before descending into the consciousness of myself and my company, making it impossible for me to figure out where this enemy is without peering inside the dining room. What the hell are they? Contreras whispers into my ear, barely audible above the moaning now moistening the air. I hold him back behind the corner with my arm to prevent being seen. That was Contreras for you, always wanting to poke his wide, square head in to see what's up. Pissed me off when he did that in the middle of a conversation which didn't include him. And now it was threatening to get both of us killed by them. I shushed my companion to allow me to concentrate on scoping out whether what awaited us among the tables and chairs around the corner. As the wall retreated from my view, revealing the shattered, disheveled state the room was left in, I caught a view of one of the culprits. It possessed a humanoid body, yet the head was absent, replaced by a small bump in place of the neck, with deep holes like open sores scattered across what appeared to be its back. There was no way to tell if they were pores or injuries, for only darkness was found inside the emptiness of the pale flesh. The skeletal arms extended to the floor without any need to bend over, thus allowing the abomination to feed the torso hidden from my vision. I felt myself shudder at the image, wishing to avert my eyes that pleaded me to flee the building with my pounding heart intact. But they were everywhere. Escape was impossible. What choice did I have but to cut through the dining room to the... Help me! Suddenly, a crash echoed through the hallway, calling the attention of the thing that turned to face me. A mere glimpse was enough to shake me away to see that the noise came from a vase, a shattered vase, next to Contreras. The fucking clumsy idiot. The cry of the monsters filled the building, quickly followed by the horrific warning of the oncoming stampede, causing the floor beneath us to quake. I grabbed Contreras by the shirt and hauled him away from the archway above the dining room. Basement, go! I barked as we hustled with all the speed our legs could muster down the stairs. I burst through the door when I heard his pleading voice howl from behind me. I turned to see my friend being dragged away by a slender arm towards a carnivorous doom. I pulled his arms with a sure grip in conjunction with all the might I had. It's remarkable the amount of strength you can summon when a life is on the line, even when competing with an unknown entity. I refused to release my hands. Contreras' cries grew louder, somehow more agonizing. I heard a crack, a snap, and a spurt before he came rocketing on top of me through the doorway. I shot back to my feet to slam the door shut and bolt it before leaning a cabinet against it to hopefully hold the door in place. Finally, able to turn my attention to him, I found Contreras bleeding in anguish all about the floor from his right leg. A splintered bone and torn flesh seemed to have been bitten off by a mouth full of dull teeth. I pulled my belt off my pants to try to make a tourniquet and stop the bleeding. His breathing was rapid, shallow, panicked. I tried to calm him, but he wouldn't with the banging and the moaning radiating from the door. "I don't want to die," he begged. "I got a wife at home." I tried assuring him that he would pull through if he'd calm his breathing and shut up. "Oh, fuck off," he snapped. "It's easy for you to say, 'cause you've got nothing to lose. Your wife's dead." And he's right. I lost her a month ago. I laid with her in the hospital bed and held her closer than I ever had before, thinking if I just held her tight enough, her spirit wouldn't leave her body. She died there in my arms, soaked in my tears. I still hadn't come back from that day. Who among us ever could? And you know something? I began to recall all the times he bragged about how he loved being married to his little sweetheart, even when I lost my beloved. My wound had reopened, and when it happened, or I suppose I should say, that's when I let it happen. I untied the tourniquet, walked to the end of the room, and watched him pathetically attempt to crawl away from the door about to collapse open in front of him. The wailing had such a sweeter sound now. The broken wood crashed to the floor, and then his body disappeared into the darkness. His voice was suddenly cut off by a chomp, followed by footsteps coming toward the light. It was, even now, I can't quite describe it. There was no true face, only a gaping toothed mouth that stretched from the right shoulder diagonally to the left hip. 5 holes in the neck's bump contracted, almost sniffing. No eyes were anywhere to be seen on this slimy, ghoulish fiend. My breathing quickened as it slowly stepped closer and closer. Finally, it was face to face with me, likely taking in the scent of my former comrade's blood mixed with my fear. Sweat beaded and fell down my face. Being so near to this monstrosity was more horrifying than anything I'd ever seen before in my life. I knew it was going to consume me, like it and all of its brothers did to the others. I wanted it to be over. I wanted it to kill me. Instead, it stood before me. The stench of its breath was like something I could only imagine exists in the deepest level of hell. I nearly shouted for it to take me. But it turned its revolting back to me and stalked away into the darkness.